Dr. Robert M. Gagné, August 21, 1916 to April 28, 2002. Here's some quick facts about the good doctor. He earned his bachelor's degree from Yale in 1937, his PhD from Brown in 1940. He is the author of over 100 articles and several books, including Essentials of Learning for Instruction in 1974 and The Conditions of Learning in 1979 while he was at UC Berkeley. During World War II, he was drafted into the Army Air Corps, where he worked with Arthur Melton, James Gibson, and Paul Fitts, all preeminent psychologists. They worked on aircrew classification and psychomotor tests, among other important things. After the war, he joined the Air Force Personnel and Training Research Center, where he continued his studies, finally ending up at the Department of Educational Research in Florida State University, from which he retired. Gagné believed there were 5 types of learning outcomes: verbal information, which is declarative language and organized knowledge; intellectual skills, which are procedural skills, concepts, rules, and problem solving; cognitive strategies, which are the student's personal way to learn, think, guide, and act; attitude, which is an internal state and includes emotions, and these influence behavior; motor skills, which are physical skills which, when done with smoothness and timing, equate to a motor skill. Gagné believed in the hierarchy of learning, and he went from the lowest learning level to the top in the following order. Signal learning was Pavlov's bell, avoiding hot objects. Stimulus response, precise responses to specific stimuli: dog, sit, stay. Chaining, link stimulus response, riding bike. Verbal association, connect names to objects linked together. Discrimination learning, different responses to similar stimuli, names. Concept learning, abstract thinking, consistent response to common class. Rule learning, relate concepts to each other, apply in new situations. Problem solving, use concepts to create new rules to solve problems. But what does this really all mean? The lowest form of learning, signal learning, is the simplest form of learning and is similar to Pavlov's classical conditioning. Good examples are: a dog salivates when he hears the bell, and withdrawing a hand when touching a hot object. The stimulus response learning is the second level learning, and it's similar to Skinner's operant conditioning. It is precise responses to specific stimuli. Good examples are physical movement training, such as animal training, and language acquisition, such as when a toddler learns to say mama, or a dog learns to walk on a leash. Chaining is the third level of learning, and it is a complex motor skills level. Good examples of this are riding a bike and playing the piano, and is linking sequences of stimuli responses together. The fourth level of training is verbal association, and it is language development skills, which is a key process to learning, and verbal units or chunking. The simplest form of this is naming an object, but it gets much more complex than that with translation responses, which are context clues. For example, I went to the train to see my mother. Which form of train are we talking about? The train or train as in training someone? Context clues gives us the answer. Discrimination learning is the fifth level of learning, and it is within a system providing appropriate responses to similar stimuli, even with interference. A good example of this is the teacher learning the children's names in a classroom. Concept learning is the sixth level of learning, and it is providing consistent response within different stimuli within a common class or category, the ability to generalize or classify. A good example of this is a living thing, plants and grass, or animals, dogs and wolves, which are carnivores, or cows, which are herbivores. We move on then to rule learning, where we should be able at this point, this is the seventh level of learning, to learn relationships between concepts and apply them to new and different situations. So given the previous slide and understanding what herbivores and carnivores are, We should now be able, given appropriate information, to sort these animals. If I tell you that an elephant and a giraffe are both herbivores, then only eat plants, you should be able to place them under herbivores. If I tell you that alligators and lions only eat meat, you should be able to successfully place them under carnivores. And if I tell you that omnivores eat both meat and plants, and that an example of that is man, then you should be able to extrapolate from that when I tell you that monkeys eat plants and meat and move that category, the monkey, into omnivores. This is rule learning. Problem solving is the highest level of learning, and it is inventing a complex rule and then applying it to similar problems. For this, you need prerequisite knowledge. A good example of this occurred in the last slide, where if I didn't give you anything except for omnivore and told you man was an omnivore, and that both men and monkeys eat plants and animals, then if I place man under omnivore, you should be able independently to place monkey underneath omnivore as well. Another example of this can be provided in cooking. If you are a good cook, you know that you can replace eggs with apples as a rising agent to make apple cake. From that, I should be able to extrapolate at this highest level of learning and realize that I can also make cookies and muffins using apples and no eggs. The 9 events of instruction for Gagné are to gain attention, to inform learner of objectives, to stimulate recall of prior learning, to present content, to provide learning guidance, to elicit performance, to provide feedback, to assess performance, to enhance retention and transfer. The first level, gain attention. For ADA compliancy, you should use headers to gain attention, and you should use alt tags for your images. You can make attention gaining for everyone by using an interesting fact, quote, or story, by gamifying your course, by posing a question after giving a dilemma, and by using interactive components. Number 1, gain attention. Number 2, inform learner of objectives. You can describe the learning outcomes, use 1 to 3 maximum, and give a detailed explanation of no more than 1 or 2 sentences. During this phase, you're also going to provide performance measures such as rubrics, checklists, and discussions. Number 2, inform learner of objectives. Number 3, stimulate recall of prior learning. During this phase, you're going to review previous material using a video, a short lecture, or a group discussion. You're going to provide bridge, which is bridging previous material to new material, and you can use pre-assessment at this stage to see where your students currently are. Number 3, stimulate recall of prior learning. Number 4, present content. Text and pictures are more likely to be ADA compliant. They require lower bandwidth and are better with older equipment, but they are less engaging. Audio and video require closed captioning to be ADA compliant and also require high bandwidth and better equipment, but they are a more engaging means of reaching the students. Number 4, present content. Number 5, provide learning guidance. Answer the students' questions at this point. Provide any supplemental materials you have, study guides, guidelines, checklists, rubrics, deadlines, examples. Provide the learning guidance in this 5th stage. In the 6th stage, you're going to elicit performance. You're going to practice with no weight, low weight, or extra credit assignments. You're going to use quizzes, homework, draft papers, gamification again, discussion at the group or the class level. Number 6, elicit performance. Number 7, provide feedback in a peer-to-peer tutorial or automated format. Make sure you do all 3 of these, or at least one, and instructor feedback at this stage should be reserved for those who truly need it. 7, provide feedback. Number 8, assess performance. In this area, you're going to finally do your assessment with a high point value using a portfolio or project, an objective or essay or combination assessment, or something else the instructor thinks of. 8, assess performance. 9 is enhance retention and transfer. Here you're going to provide a learning review, apply learning to new situation. The students are going to evaluate the learning, reflect on the learning, or apply the learning to a new situation. Questions or comments? Should anyone have any questions or comments, ask them now. I'll also provide you my contact information. The references are Gagné's 9 Events of Instruction, Jones A, 5 Types of Learning, Maheshwari V.K., Gagné's Hierarchy of Learning Types, Rothkopf E.Z., In Appreciation, Robert Mills Gagné, and Spector J.M., Foundations of Educational Technology, Integrative Approaches, and Interdisciplinary Perspectives. Thank you and have a great day.